Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinUpsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stuandthenunn.com. And with that, everyone, welcome to another episode, the final episode of Stu and the Nunn here on 2019. What's up, Toby? How you doing, buddy?
I'm living the dream, and yes, it's the final episode of 2019, but not the final episode.
Nope, and it's not the final countdown. The final
countdown.
That's right.
That
That was for Doug. That was for the Shard. He's a big 80s fan. But, yeah, anyways, here we are, man. December 19th, 2019, 12/19/19. Don't know if that means anything, but, yeah, and we are here with our last one. We're not going to do a show next week. Obviously, it's the day after Christmas.
also known as Boxing Day.
Also known as Boxing Day. You get you, my friend, my Canadian half American friend.
It's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
It's a real thing.
Before we get into this, a lot of people don't know the history. Being someone that lived in Alaska and I lived near the border, I've learned about and close friends with Canadians like you. I've learned a lot about it, but a lot of our listeners probably don't know, one, the origination of Boxing Day, and two, why it's called Boxing Day. Could you educate our viewers and listeners on what it's about? What is Boxing Day?
Well, I'm probably going to get it all wrong.
I hope you don't let an American like trump you up and tell you what it's about.
I see what you did there, Trump. But no, like...
Make Boxing Day great again.
Yeah, making Canadian holidays great again. I'm making Commonwealth holidays great again. No, like Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, and I always understood it to be the day that you box up all your stuff and prepare for the New Year's, because Christmas and New Year's are separate holidays, and but I'm probably wrong. In modern times, if you were an American, it would probably be the National Day of Exchange, which would be the day of like, I didn't like this gift, so I'm going to take it back and get what I want. But in Canada, my understanding was it's the day we took all our stuff down so that we could prepare for the New Year's celebrations. I don't remember Christmas decorations being up, going on into months after the new year had changed, but that's just me. I could be wrong. It was also the day that you took your in-laws out back and boxed the shit out of them because you didn't like what they gave you. But again, I could be wrong. And I'm not boxing my in-laws. They're delightful folks. Love them dearly, and I'm grateful for anything that we get to share.
Absolutely, yes. No, it actually originated goes back to the 17th century in the UK, in England. And the earliest is, defined as the first weekday after Christmas, observed as a holiday on which postmen, errand boys, and servants of various kinds expected to receive a Christmas box. So essentially it was those who usually have to work on Christmas, those who
got their gift.
Then they got their gift, which, they probably got a good sale. You probably got it real cheap if you went out early on Boxing Day and got it. But
I endorse what you just said. That rings bells.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
that's nice. But I've also heard it in more recent times as the day that you box everything up, like you said, and return it. That's the probably modern definition that I've heard. But is that you take all your stuff back, box it up, and return it, and get what you really want.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems more applicable today, but it looks like it probably was a meaningful and selfless thing to do. If you were trying to,
I was going to dig a little deeper and be like, it was the day that the Manchus, the 9th Infantry Regiment, marched 100 miles into the Boxer Rebellion, but I knew like that.
That would have brought it tight, man. And people would have been like, "What? Is some military history in there?" Yeah. That's but no.
But then everyone would have known I was full of shit.
Yeah. Well, they may have. They may not have. But
it's all in how you sell it.
It's all in how you, that's it. Yeah, I'm getting my socials on right now. Doing my thing here. Give me just a second. So yeah, it is. But it is. So we're not gonna ever. We got down to that path because I was saying we weren't gonna do a show next week. Setting up my watch party here, and
ain't no party like a Troy Stewart watch party.
You never know what you're gonna see.
Party video don't stop.
You never gonna see. Another little tidbit here. That in this show, our year in review, we got a lot of stuff to cover. I almost was gonna be with you today, and I'm sorry I'm not. It was a late. I was up in your country just the other day. I was in Canada. Sorry, and I kind of got word that hey, we want you in Austin, and I was like, oh, okay, tomorrow? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I got to drive back to home. And I'm like, it's on the QEW. I don't know if texting and driving is allowed in Canada, but I may have been, but I know you can speed as fast as you want. But I was trying to find flights, and then I was texting you saying, hey, I may be doing a show with you this week. I got to go home and book a flight and pack, but it just couldn't work out. You know what? It was too crazy. Tomorrow's the Friday before the Christmas week. A lot of people are obviously taking off next week. People are flying, and as you can imagine, airfares are crazy. And with my luck, it'd be terrible weather, and I'll get stuck somewhere. And it's like, so we didn't work out, unfortunately. But I think we're gonna find ourselves together in January for the new year. So
yes,
that way, no co-located shenanigans tonight, as we are not together. But anyways, I am up here in the brisk northern studio, Toby, where this morning I woke up to a 8. That's with a single digit, 8 degrees Fahrenheit here in the northern studio. How's the weather down there in the southern studio of Austin, Tejas?
Well, there was an 8 involved in our temperature today too, and it had a 2 in front of it, and I think people lost their minds.
It was 20. It was 28 in Austin. You're kidding me.
It was 28 degrees, and so just for our viewing audience,
that's not Celsius. We're talking Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so wow. Just so everyone can see, I have my Thursday thermals on, followed up by my Friday flannel, because it was a little bit cooler, and I had to put the old lid on just to keep myself warm. I'm wrapped in the warmth of Kermode right now. I got my bear skin on, so pretty excited about that.
Wow, you are that Canadian blood is thinned out, eh?
100%.
100%. I threw in a nice little festive real tree or mossy oak Santa hat. I thought was appropriate. I thought it compliments my.
Or mossy oak are pissed off that you can't identify their camo pattern right now.
I don't give. Whatever. But they're not a sponsor. They become a sponsor on other stuff.
Yeah, sponsor me. But hey, speaking of things I want to shut out really fast, my man Aaron's in one of our chat rooms. It might be my watch party. I'm not sure which one, but. Aaron Luling is one of the owners and partners at 12 Fox Beer, which is down in the Drip, also known as Dripping Springs, Texas. You and I need to go down there. We should actually do a show from down there.
That's not far from you.
And his Army buddy.
That's an Austin suburb, right? That's not far from you, is it?
No, it's not. It's on the southwestern side of Austin, out in the foothills of the hill country there. But Aaron and his battle buddy from the Army, they were 12 Foxes together, 12 series engineers in the Army. They have moved on, and they started a brewery out there. They use sustainable resources, rainwater, in terms of their brewing, liquids and stuff like that. Really cool setup. Beautiful brewery down there that makes delicious beers. And they just got selected as one of the top breweries in Texas. So big shout out to Aaron. Really proud of those guys and love their product. If it was within 30 minutes of my house, I probably would have a daily Uber account. I
Yeah.
love that place so much. So
No, that's good stuff, and we should do a show from down there. There's no reason.
oh, dude,
That's probably
we absolutely
closer.
should.
Yeah, it's
They're
probably
great
close.
guys. They're great guys.
That's probably closer for me where I'm normally at on when I'm down there in ATX.
Yeah, it's closer to where you're at when you
Yeah,
stay at, the highfalutin place
yeah.
of Steiner Ranch. Yeah,
When I with that hotel, I'm right down the road
that
from
Hotel Steiner.
Hotel Shard, right down the road from the Steiner Ranch Steakhouse. If you're looking for a good steak and a good time, check out the Steiner Ranch Steakhouse. You don't know what you'll find on a
Yeah,
Thursday night.
no, it's a good steak is what you'll find.
You
But
may,
all right, let's get down
you
to
may
business.
find an unwanted date. But either way, I just gave them a great plug. I mean, I'm showing anyone that could be a sponsor that we
Yeah,
can do good promotional plugs.
Shane, if you're watching,
We rarely do them
we
free.
love your steaks.
Yes, we rarely do them free. Anyways, yeah. So we are to 2019 in review, and Toby, I was kind of going back and doing. I was perusing our site and our shows, and man, we had quite a year. That we just jumped right into, and we started off with the good old friend Scott Kesterson at the very first show,
Mm.
and we have pretty much as our last guest slash guest host, right, would have been last week with Dr. Mike Simpson that you had, and
Yeah.
and a lot of folks in between. Are there any shows? We'll just start with our show. We're going to talk about politics. There's some stuff going on in DC in the last couple of days we could probably cover. But are there any shows that really stand out from 2019 to you? We'll start with shows. We're going to cover a couple different events, but
Okay, so the the first thing I'd like to bring up is the show that didn't happen. Um, and I want to talk about Lauren Bruner. We came so close to have him back on in 2019 on multiple occasions. It just never happened due to his health, due to timing, due to coordinations. He passed, and 2 weeks ago got interned in Pearl Harbor, back aboard the Arizona. And so first and foremost, the most important show of 2019 was the one that didn't happen in my book, in my mind. It's going to go on to be a great regret. And then already being committed to other things that you and I, we were supposed to travel over there, and we did not. And just due to your international travel, my domestic travel, of course, we can't plan when people pass and things that happen. But man, the most important show of 2019 is the show in my mind that didn't happen. That was with Lauren F. Bruner. We still support his foundation. We still encourage everyone to go purchase Second to the Last Leave, the Arizona, so you can truly learn what American enduring means. What man, I'm trying to find the right word. Like enduring just doesn't seem like it's of the greatest value. But no matter what, you got to go read Lauren F. Bruner's Second to the Last Leave, the Arizona, and learn about him. If you ever go to Pearl Harbor, you'll still hear his voice. He is the audible tour as you're learning about the attack on Pearl Harbor, specifically about the impact on the USS Arizona and the other boats within the harbor. But to me, not to bring it down and be a downer, the best show of 2019 is the show that didn't happen. And I wish we'd have got him on. I wish it would have worked out, but it just, those things. Yes, Aaron, perseverance, the ultimate story in American perseverance.
yeah, that's the right word for sure, man. You got some smart.
Yeah.
You hang out with some smart people.
Yeah.
Not me, because I couldn't think of what you're trying to say either. No, I agree. I mean, that was and something like you kind of tapped into something. We don't, we have a lot of. I mean, for this show, the guests we have, some are old friends of ours, some people are repeats. But either way, there's a lot of things that happen. I could tell you, Lauren personally sent gifts to Toby and I both. When we first met him, we first had him on the show. And I cherish the life of them. And I'm looking at them right now. They are in my office, and I look at them every day in front of me. And probably one of the gifts, like you said, that were kind of given to us, but we never were able to take advantage of, is the invite we received, the personal invite from Lauren, who knew he was, obviously, we all know our time here is limited, who knew that his time was limited. And if you read the book and you learn about the bar that downtown where he met this girl, and it was very famous, and through the rest of his life he went back and visited many times. They pretty much had him his own seat.
Yeah.
His wake was already planned and paid for. He already had his wake planned and paid for there. It's everything up on the wall about him. This was the same bar that he was at on the night of December 6th, 1941, the night before the attack. The bar's still standing.
Yeah.
And Lauren invited us out to cover his wake and cover his funeral and broadcast in there.
Yeah, it was like one of the most awkward conversations.
And
I mean, when he was saying, he's like, "I want you guys to broadcast from my wake." I was like, "Ah,
yeah, it's not my birthday party, not my whatever.
No, not gonna do it."
But it was like, I want you out here to do this, and it was just like, Toby and I, we both feel the same way. One of the most humbling.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Experiences to have someone have that much foresight and be that uncomfortable with. But God, you look at everything he's been through. He's probably counted every blessing every day that he walked on this planet after December 7th, 1941. And he just like, I want you to come out there, hang out with the people that I know, sit in the same bar that I sat in the night before, and cover my service and everything as I get interned. And he turned out to be the last one that's ever going to happen, because there's 3 more survivors, and they have all decided to be buried in cemeteries. And he was like, nope, this is where I'm going. And unfortunately, like I said, we just, this isn't our full-time gig. It's not, we were unable to make that happen. But yeah, it's and he had an interesting quote. He was interviewed not too long ago, Toby, where he was asked why he wanted to go there and be interned and not be buried like normal. And he said, people don't go to cemeteries, but everyone comes to the Arizona when they come to Hawaii. And it was like, and besides the fact that he wanted to be down there with his brothers, and I'm sure we are all well aware of what survivor's guilt is. And when you're only that handful to come off, and you're one of the second to the last to leave, and you read the book, you'll see the things he witnessed as described by him, from his eyes out of his mouth. There's no doubt the guy dealt with a lot of survivor's guilt, and it knew that was the right place he had to go, because he should have went down with that ship too, and it was by the grace of God he didn't.
Yeah, and a boxer that he saw in a bar the night before throwing a hemp line superhumanly. No, the whole thing is just it's quite a fantastical read. It takes all the way from the time that he joined the military, through training, through different ships and transport, arriving at the USS Arizona. He actually hadn't been on the Arizona very long before it was attacked, and then what he endured after the attack in terms of service. Like he got healed up, and they weren't like, all right, well, we're gonna send you back, we're gonna like put you through the CFI or whatever. No, they were like, so there's this other boat.
Yeah. And he could have ended his service, but he felt he'd still serve, and he was able to. And and
awesome.
Went and founded the Illusion. But yeah, that was the show that didn't happen. Definitely a big one. Another any other one any show that stands out that we did have that you think?
No, like we've just had some like really awesome guys and gals on this year. When I think of, Medal of Honor recipient, Bells,
right.
Jim Hansen, and I think Doc Simpson, Chad, Robichaux, we just had some really some big hitters. We've had a pretty cool, like pretty good plethora of
that's a big
talent.
Yeah.
Plethora of talent.
No, we have. We've done a number of shows like this where it's just us. For sometimes you just want to cover stuff. It's just we weren't able to get a guest or they had to cancel. But for me personally, I can tell you, having two shows kind of stand out to me that happened this year. One was obviously we had Dave Bellevue at Bells, we call him, on a number of times. He's guest hosted this show.
Yes.
He's talked about things on his show before he got the Medal of Honor that I think maybe some folks in DC may have talked to him about because of some things he said. Let's just say that our numbers
we've been
went up.
known to get people in trouble.
Yeah, let's just say since about January, our numbers really went up coming in from the Capital District. We saw that. So having him on, I think the last time we had him on was, I want to say March. It's hard we actually had him on so many times. I think it was March. I know it was right before the first time it was supposed to be announced. But
right before,
yeah. But Dale Dye, we had Dale on in June 20th, and I just
Craig Sawyer.
Yeah. But Dale was, I was talking to someone about him the other day, and someone said, Dale Dye. I'm like, you know him? And like, I do. I'm like, yeah, you ever seen a war movie, Made Sense, Platoon? I'm like, you know him. The most typecasted, in his own words, the most typecasted actor there is in Hollywood. Very down to earth. I actually need to reach out to him. Another guest of ours, Scott Mann, is wanting to link up with him, and I have Dale's info. But he, the guy's making another movie with Tom Hanks and doing some stuff, and he's got some big names signed on, and he's directing it. And he was on telling us about, and this guy is not just an actor, he's not just a consultant, he is a Purple Heart recipient, Vietnam, 3 Purple Heart recipient, Vietnam vet Marine, right? So he has walked the walk, talked the talk, and chewed the dirt. So and now is, like I said, if you don't know who he is, just Google his name. As soon as you see him, you're like, I know that guy. You've seen him in pretty much every miniseries or war movie since Platoon that's ever been about combat or infantry for the most part. But I think Dale really stands out because he's a big top name actor, but one of the most down to earth, humble people I've ever met that's accomplished what he has in the entertainment industry. And we've talked to a lot of folks. We've had a lot of folks, recording artists, authors, actors.
No, we like this year. When I think about guys, there's been a lot of television and movie talent on this year. We've had a lot of politicians from low level, local races. Somewhere in America that were really interesting to large national, veterans going after like Maxine Waters' spot out in California, to great companies like Assault Forward. No, Dale Dye, like that. What an opportunity to talk to, like just an absolute Hollywood badass. Here's a guy that was able to influence Platoon, the first movie that he was in, or one of the very first movies he was involved in such a way that he was able to have a line where he like played a commander, and he was like, "Drop it all in my position. It's been a hell of a war." One of the most iconic war movie quotes of all time.
And he had lived it.
And he was able to like slide that in there.
Yeah.
To like everything that he's done. He's an amazing guy. His family's amazing. His wife's awesome. His kids, with their writing and their publishing company.
If you want to go back to see it, it's episode 170. It was on June 20th. If you want to go back and take a listen to that. But yeah, for sure. To me, that was, like I say, to me, it's the one of the show of the guests we had. And we've had great ones, right? We had, we just had, like, talked about the one young man, Aaron Wrights, I think is the one that's challenging Maxine Waters, right? We just had Jason Amarine on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I always forget about Jason.
And then just a lot of folks like that really stood out. Craig Sawyer, you talked about Gina, obviously, right? Remy's love following that dude.
Remy Adelecki,
yeah. But I think we had Sarah on. I think we had Sarah Lee on again this year.
We did have Sarah. Yeah. We did have Sarah on. We had the guys from Fieldcraft, Mike and Raul.
Yep.
On.
Mike Glover, right? Mike Glover.
Gina. Yeah. No, like that's the thing. Is like it's been a decent year.
Yeah. Joe Collins. All those different folks, and So what? So from our own personal lives, I guess. Let me ask you this. Then I'm kind of quizzing you. What stands out this year that really, personally, that you feel comfortable in sharing? That really just, when you look back on 2019, just really stands out to you as like the most memorable thing. It could be deal with a show or whatever. business, work, personal, anything really?
Yeah, no, like it's been a great year of growth, in terms of business. Uh, got involved in a new industry and venture in 2019 with my partners, and we engaged in adding or expanding our little empire, if you will, which has been like a great learning lesson, because I learned a lot about tolerance. I learned a lot about compassion. I also learned a lot about like patience.
Patience, young grasshopper, patience.
Yeah. But this year emotionally has been one of the hardest years that I've dealt with in, probably since since being in. And I attended a couple of funerals this year, buried some soldiers, buried a hero, um, and one of the, not to minimize any of that, but probably one of the hardest emotional things I've dealt with that my family's faced was the killing of our dog. And like it's been a year. I'm totally happy to get on to 2020.
Yeah, yeah. 2020. Yeah, it has been
Yeah.
it has been a heck of one. And you're right. I mean, there's been loss and triumphs and downfalls, and obviously the family effect there near the was quite a bit, and how that whole situation panned out. Obviously, a lot more than people know, but I mean, it was that I'm hoping that the awesome gift that John sent down and Cody surprised you with helped.
Man, I have it right here actually. Yeah,
Uh,
I have it right here.
Said I told you that when we got that choked me up, dude. When I saw it, I was just like, "Oh my lord!" All these
Yeah.
great pictures, but that picture at the bottom really got me. But yeah, um, no, I mean it has been. I mean, it has been a whirlwind in there. I mean, obviously for me, I would say by far the most standout moment it will probably be of this decade, if not my life, to be quite honest and blunt, was being at the White House at David's request and seeing him receive the Medal of Honor. Right.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, and what made it so what made it so surreal, well, there's a lot of things it did, but really made it stand out was I'd known about it for 6 months, and I sat on that. I mean, a lot of people may or may not know this, but I was the first person Dave called when right, as soon as he got the phone with the president, and he called me and said, "You're the first person I'm telling this," and that alone, well, besides him telling me what was happening, was one thing, and then telling me I'm the first one. I would have been fine if I was the 101st one. I mean, I would just be honored that he called me and that he were friends, but to be like, who else do I tell? And he couldn't tell anyone, and there was months before he told family or told anybody, and it was so under wraps. That it was and there's a lot more even to that story that I'm sure I'll probably never tell, but that he's trusted me with. But I mean, to sit on it from January to June, not able
You
to
got
tell.
the leak.
I was not the leak, and it just bubbled. I mean, it was just, and then he and I were staying in constant contact, and he was still living his life normal, and I was watching him live his life and stuff, knowing what was coming right around the corner. And then, like everything with the government, things keep getting pushed and pushed, which I knew. I never want to tell anybody just because I didn't want to jinx it. And to finally have it happen, and him, being able to get my wife and I both there, and be part of that experience. I still relive it all the time. I go back and look at pictures and everything. And in fact, I think I said right beforehand, I said, I'm so glad this is such a heavy videoed and photographed event, because it's going to me, it's going to be like a wedding or some other, it's going to be such a blur that I'm going to not be able to take everything in. And, yeah, that just made it. I mean, if that, it was just, that was the cat's meow to me. I don't know what else could get much better than that for this year. Or like I say, probably for the decade. Not a couple of them, but that was quite a highlight. And man, just still looking back and watching his journey he's on is just astounding and tiring. As the guy is still going 100 miles an hour, that's for sure.
No, the guy gave probably the best speech ever. The day afterwards, in the Hall of Heroes at the Pentagon, uh, one of the most iconic speeches, and that speech will live on forever. Like
He set the standard when it comes to that.
yeah, and that's the thing is like, Uh, People are going to quote that speech. People are going to refer to that video. They may not actually like know him or what he did or the significance of it, but like that speech, um, if you wore that flag pointed a certain direction, you will always be his brother, and you will always endear yourself to that speech. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's and you brought up a good point. The next day, the Hall of Heroes, that's usually kind of an afterthought. There's no real coverage of it. That was right up there. It was one thing to be at the ceremony and be inside that small group. It was a much smaller group, 15 of us that got to go to the Pentagon first thing that morning and get private tours, lunch with the Secretary, the Army and the Chief and the Sergeant Major of the Army and all that kind of stuff, and then be able to be brought into that hall after everybody was seated, sit down, watch him do that, and no idea except him complaining the night before how the Army wouldn't let him come down and hang out with us because he had to write this speech, and we're like, Jesus Christ, dude. And then watch him give it, and just every one of us ready to stand up, raise our hand again. A lot of us old, broken and
like,
bloated, right? Even our
yeah,
boy Matty B was ready to sign up. He was just like
yeah.
everyone was ready to get back into it. And yeah, that was right up there with the day before. I mean, it really was. And just a great cap off of that event. But yeah, so that was definitely one, definitely a good brother and a good friend, and hopefully we get him back on. We talk to him pretty frequently, and just trying to get him on our schedule. We're just doing the Nunn show. We're not. But he knows he can always come here. The other folks he's got to get when he get, but he knows he's always got a welcome home here. But yeah, definitely a big event. Um, in our country, Toby, what do you think the biggest event in our country was this year?
Man, like that is a tough one. Like that is,
You actually we have a couple you could pick from. There's a short list.
yeah, no, like there. Well, I'm actually like challenged because I think you know. So, I mean, we have things like the American president it's putting his feet inside North Korea. Um, we have, um, as a nation, we accomplished, great things like an all-women spacewalk. We've continued to dominate in the world of sports. As a nation, we've done a lot of really impressive things this year, and so I'm not sure, but like there have been some big moments. Um, Unfortunately, I think most people are going to lean towards like these fake bullshit moments that everyone wants you to think are really important that are so trivial and insignificant that it's like but in terms of Texas, the greatest moment was Beto dropped out of the presidential race, and so we could get our pride back because I was tired of people going around perpetrating fake Texanism.
Yeah, there was a lot of folks that went on Colbert, and a lot of people got into the Democratic race, and now a lot of people are out. That's for sure. The all female spacewalk was a big one. A young gay black actor faked a hate crime, uh, and you know
French.
yeah, there's so little racist and homophobic in this country that a gay black man has to go fake a crime, and to try to get attention, right? I don't know what that's a testament to, either his shallowness or whatever. But so many things. The lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, right? Lowest unemployment rates for females, Hispanics. I mean, all those are great things. Obviously, there's no doubt, right? This recent, just the other day, these articles of impeachment, brought against the president, which may now get thrown out or something because they're not going to go anywhere or whatever. The president stepping into North Korea was a big one. The whole North Korean thing, you and I
Yeah.
have talked about a number of times, both being stationed there, how big that was, just the turnaround, much less him going there and walking into North Korea.
Yeah.
Um, was a big one. There was no doubt. There are people coming in and out of the presidential race that we don't even know about. You had a billionaire pedophile that somehow killed himself
He
with
did
with
not kill himself.
with all the perfect with the perfect alignment of all the stars from broken cameras to no
Yeah.
cellmate to sleeping guards. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a bad movie script that it wouldn't even get
Right.
picked up.
Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty clear. But yeah, it is 2019. I think John says it pretty good. It's probably going to go down as a country divided. I gotta agree, John Kaiser, that it is. It's I mean it's just going to be the year of really DC not doing anything and Congress fighting and things. I mean. They go through this whole impeachment thing, and then today they passed the USMCA Act, which has been sitting there for 9 months to pass, right? And it's like, oh, okay, now we're past it. Look, we're going to start doing things. But I'm just kind of curious for our listeners. Toby's hosting a watch party. I am too. They got one in the. We got one going on a regular page. If there's anything that stands out to you, please type in what you think the big event for the show was, or for our country, for you. We'd like to hear from you. We may jump on some of that and talk about it, but like to hear from you also what you think. If there's something, especially for the country or our world, that stands out. I mean, another one too is the D-Day anniversary this year was pretty significant.
It's a big one. It was a big one.
That was I just kind of thought of that. That was a milestone anniversary.
It was a big one
of that that happened. But yeah, it is. We're gonna have to see. I mean, it's kind of scared. What's 2020? I mean, remember last year, 2018, and we were kind of having our end of year show. We're like, I wonder what 2019 is gonna be like. And I think we thought 2018 was bad.
Well, and that's the thing is, I was just having a conversation with somebody earlier today, and one of the things they were like, man, are you excited for the holidays? Are you excited for the new year? And it's like, yeah, I'm absolutely excited for the holidays. I'm excited for the new year, but like I tried to share with them, I'm not excited because it's a new year. I'm excited because I'm in the words of Michael J. Fox, like I'm a perpetual optimist. I'm always excited for the future, and I always believe it's going to be great because it is. And these little things, these peaks and valleys that we experience, we endure. That's called life. And you can sing Elton John in the background, but it's the circle of life. It's the perpetual active existence, and with that, there are highs, there are lows, they're physical, they're emotional, and I mean, I'm excited for the new year. Yeah, if you're when you take a section of the timeline and you like put perforated edges on the sides of it, you're like, what do you think of this time frame? Yeah, some might be better than others, but in reality, man, I'm just the eternal optimist. I'm looking forward, and I'm always excited for the future. So,
well, the one thing I'm not looking forward is that we're going into the final stretch on the election year, and it seems like we've been dealing with it seems like it's a 2-year run up now to campaign time. And between all the junk mail's going to start coming. The calls are already coming left, right, and center. Polls and this and that, whatever. But the news is going to be nothing but dominated by this, and it's just going to be. I think we're going to be on such election burnout by November of next year that we're just going to be at our wits' end, almost like we were in 2016. But at the same time, it's gonna be kind of exciting to see where it goes. I mean, 2016 was pretty straight. It was Hillary and Trump. Got it right. Whatever. That's pretty exciting. But I think it's anyone's guess this year, as by virtue of people like Bloomberg and stuff coming into the last second. I mean, there's no shortage of Democratic candidates. Also, no shortage that have already fallen out that everyone thought were going to be the next greatest thing since sliced bread, or But now there's so little trust or confidence in who is there that people are still coming in this late in the game. And in fact, Hillary herself is saying she's getting lots of pressure to come in.
And spoken like a true attention whore.
That would be a gift that keeps on giving.
I'm getting a lot of pressure too to be in a major motion picture. I mean, I could just keep saying that to like will myself into something. Quantum mechanics, right? No, like it's absolutely entertaining, what we're enduring right now. And I hope it continues. And I hope it continues because it is going to give us a break from like the stupid political ads. Because, like right now, you have one side going at, a, um, a very unsuccessful attempt at
Removing the president.
smearing. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, there's no legality to it. There's no factual basis to it. It's just a slandering. It's a smearing. It's an attempt to, to appeal to, a voting base that, will vote against name recognition. And when you look at the seven powers of incumbency, name recognition is, the greatest power. And like all this is just it's a PR campaign, a smearing campaign to like try and take people and be like, okay, well that name's bad. I don't know why, so I'm gonna like choose a different name, and which is great because it's not gonna work. And two, we don't have to have like this message is approved by insert random
Right.
Democratic candidate that made it through. And like we're getting this wonderful respite. The House of Representatives, to which there's 465 of them or whatever, like battling it out and calling each other names and making fun of each other. I'm getting some of the best YouTube videos I've ever watched early in the morning. When I'm doing like, like there's a congressman from Georgia that still thinks Guam, even though he knows it's an island and graduated from university, believes that if we put a few more American service members on it, it will tip. Like, like we have people that think that the world is in such a terminal velocity with the environment that it's not going to last another dozen years. So like while those guys and gals are going at each other and entertaining us, we don't have to listen to bad political ads.
Right.
So like we're actually we should be grateful that all this is going on because the presidential election cycle is going to be cut in half as a result of this. So like we're not having to deal with the stupid BS that we dealt with last time because there's so much other noise going on that's so entertaining.
Yeah, there
So
is.
we should just take it in and enjoy this entertainment. Watch these like wonderful YouTube and Twitter and like Instagram clips of people. I mean, there's people right now that think the impeachment's happened and that like the president is fired. So it's just funny to watch all that stuff.
Did you see?
People
Did
aren't
you get one of
paying
those memes?
attention.
I got a meme yesterday. It's one of Hillary, like this quizzitive look on her face, and the meme's like, "Am I president now?" or something like that, right? It's like,
Yeah. I
it's
think Chuck Ziegenfuss put one up earlier that was like AOC that like asked that same question.
yeah.
But like it's awesome. Where everyone's getting a respite from the shenanigans.
But I am curious though. So let's say they've done the impeachment. Well, so the Mueller report came out, bleh, nothing there, right? Flat. Um, the IG report came out, and there's a lot there. But if you listen to 80% of the mainstream, 90% of the mainstream media, they're saying acting like there's nothing there. But when you really, and of course, they did
Oh,
that.
there's substantial things
They did that in the
in that
first 10
report.
minutes, right before they cracked it open. They were like, "Oh, there's nothing there," but once you dug into it, there's a ton there. And
Yeah.
what was hidden yesterday, Toby. I don't know if you know this. If you get a chance, and if our listeners and viewers can, go on some of your news sites that show it and watch some of the footage of Horowitz in front of the House, in front of the committee again yesterday. So on the day that the impeachment was happening, he appeared back in front of the committee and had some
Mhm.
very damning statements when asked very blunt, straightforward questions about the bias and everything else. But it's really been glossed over because obviously there was the impeachment vote yesterday. But we had that come out. and it's pretty. I mean, I don't know what people expected, but like you said, it was pretty damning. And now we have the other one that's coming out, which is actually already been referred to, can make criminal, and which has a much wider view of what they can go after. Right, the IG report was very limited. It was, here's your lane, you stay in it. You're only reporting on this. Um, the other one coming out by the attorney general up in Connecticut is or the district attorney in Connecticut is, can do anything, can bring charges, can do this, can do it. They went to Italy and interviewed people over there, all that stuff. So that's going to be a pretty big one. So let's say that one comes out, and it also vindicates the president and everything else and all that kind of stuff. I'm just wondering. I really can't imagine, because I thought once the Russian thing died, that was it, right? But I can't imagine what else is going to happen and go on. Or is it really quiet down, and will they let the administration be the administration? I can't even conceive what it'll be like. Right?
No, like the one thing I will say is that there's a tragedy here, and the tragedy of it is, I just talked about the comedy. Now I want to talk about the tragedy. The comedy is that all this stuff is happening and it's insignificant, the grand scheme and the picture and the legalities. But the tragedy of it is that there are people that don't understand the American political process, don't understand the American political system, and they're responsible for running it. And the tragedy of that is we had, I mean, something, I remember this was years ago. Our unpaid producer can probably throw something up here about it in a minute. But we cared more about the convicting or the interviewing, the cross-examining, and the understanding of the effects of steroids in baseball than we actually have into the shenanigans that happen for articles of impeachment. So the Congress took the matter of whether or not Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Jose Canseco, and some others were utilizing performance-enhancing drugs in professional sports more seriously and did a better job of due diligence than we have in both the intelligence community, in the intelligence committee, as well as the judicial committee. And that's sad because that's the tragedy. Now people are like, we had a ranking member, a chairman, as a matter of fact, read things on the record that were patently false and bold-faced lies, unsubstantiated, and complete fabrications. But because he was able to read them into the record, people are always going to look at that as saying it's the truth, or that's factual, or that's accurate. There's no difference between what I'm saying right now. I could say anything, and because I said it on the Stu and the Nunn show, well, gosh darn, it's legit. So for that matter, I'm 10 feet tall. I can slam dunk over Shaquille, and I can skate like the wind, and Connor McDavid does not have a wrister as good as I do.
And Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, and Epstein didn't kill himself. The only true statement in what just transpired. But the no, it's absolutely
It's
the
funny,
United States Congress did a better job vetting, interviewing, and seeking the truth out for the use of performance-enhancing drugs in terms of baseball, America's pastime, than they did in dealing with what could be a legitimate articles of impeachment.
Right.
Now, if there was an abuse of power, if there was quid pro quo, if there was
they
bribery,
dropped that term. You don't hear that anymore. They dropped that. No one's talking French and Latin.
I'm just saying, if any of these things, all that stuff was factually inaccurate. If they instead didn't look at Trump and said, okay, if that's the standard, if we're going to look at this guy in this position at the standard, well, then there's some people that need to go to jail.
Yeah.
Because if that's the standard, we need to go back and we're going to start with Mr. Clinton. Then we can go with his domestic partner and significant other, Mrs. Clinton. Then we can just go down the list.
Yeah.
I mean, and everybody needs. I mean, if that's the legal standard,
we have Joe Biden
then,
on video bragging about
yeah,
doing quid pro quo, right?
like
bragging, saying, "Hey, I'll
to
tell
the
you,
same government.
you're not going to get that money, Ukraine, if you don't fire that prosecutor." It's like,
That's what I mean. Like the standard's a standard, and if you're going to say that this is the standard, well, unfortunately for the people that are, so hell bent on this, if they're going to apply that standard, they're going to find that the person they're going after is not meeting that standard, and the people that they hold as heroes
right.
absolutely meet that standard.
No,
and the Congress of the United States did a better job investigating baseball than they did the President of the United States. And that should be for shame, because the Congress of the United States of America, the parliamentary and legislative wing of this government, should not be focused on professional sports. But they did a better job going after Sammy Sosa and freaking Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco than they ever did about going after, the President of the United States. And it's a travesty. It's an embarrassment. And I'm using that example because that's the buffoonery. When you get your government involved in a professional sport because you can't figure out how to deal with it, it's just like that same same congressman from the state of Georgia going on TMZ and talking about how Congress should get involved in Colin Kaepernick.
It's not.
If you're that, if that's the standard, then the fact that we've had however many press conferences, however much live streaming television coverage and internet coverage of these, absolute shenanigans. I mean,
Well,
and one thing they've demonstrated, and even the American people, even if regardless of what side you're on, will see that this is clearly I'm not going to let you talk. I'm going to gavel you down. And you're like, well, point of order or parliamentary question or legislative question, I'm going to gavel you down.
Well, I think here's what they missed, Toby. Here's what this is how isolated we all know, right? The Beltway thinks the world revolves around a Beltway, and they really are isolated from the rest of the country, even their own constituents, right? But if you can go anywhere across America, right? Our friend Sarah Lee's done, and many of our listeners and viewers are all across this country, and you can talk to folks. I talk to people all the time, as you know, like you. I travel a lot, and I talk to left, right, and centers, right? And yep. Either they know me from my background, or they know me from the show, or whatever. We just get to talking, right? And I have an opinion on something. Who would have thought? And everyone sees through the BS, like you said, regardless of their which way. And a lot of people say, I don't like it. Even Republicans, I don't like him. I don't like that he's on Twitter. I wish he'd take his phone away. But that wasn't fair. That's not how you do things. I mean, everyone can see through all the BS. Yeah. And when you sit there, when you have Congress say, there's no way we do this unless it was bipartisan, and you have this thing happen so strong along partisan lines, except for the Democrats that said, no way, they're not going to support it. The couple was 2 or 3, 2 on the first articles, 3 on the second. It's still partisan. It's not what was designed, and anyone that knows how our country was founded and what the principles our country is based on knows that is not what the founding fathers intended when they said the House is the only one that can bring articles of impeachment, and it must be tried in the Senate. It was meant to be a collective of open mind, unbiased people that could counterbalance each other, but that would look at this objectively, and it absolutely is not that. And that's another reason why it is a farce, because they cannot even think about any other way. And you can watch any of the hearings to know that they have the same talking points over and over and over. There's no free will to think. Right? There's no reason to have your own opinion or whatever, except for the couple that have kind of moved one way or another, right? And for the ones that have, sadly, you don't even really know what they think, because the few that did are really tied to, the one I know was tied to a swing, a district they know if they voted for the impeachment, they would be not voted back in. So they're not even voting their real conscience or based on the facts presented to them. Right, is really what they should be making their vote on, is the facts presented. or lack thereof. They're just being because they're doing it the way they were told to vote. And like you said, there's a lot of people in our country who do not know the history of our country and the basis of our government. You know who knows it the best, and some may be shocked by this or find it ironic, but you'll appreciate this. The people that know it the best are the people that people went through the naturalization process. 110%.
Yeah.
I know a number of them. The tests they have to take, the things they have to memorize and know. A person I was just talking to someone the other day. One of my interpreters, we have not had on the show. One of my interpreters that came over the day before he passed he passed the test, and he said his wife was taking. I got to circle up. He said his wife was taking it in 2 days after, and that was like 2 weeks ago. And I said, dude, awesome. I said, when I come back to DC area, we got to link up so we can just talk about U.S. history together, because I know he knows more he's learned more in the last few months than people that are shat out in this country, live their whole life and know nothing about it. Right? They have to know about it. And
well, I mean, you're obviously preaching to the choir as I'm going through that process, but like that's one of the things that is so mind blowing to me is in studying this and paying attention to this, and you're like, everything that's happening, and how this is being handled, it defies logic. And the other thing is, like one of the reasons the president of the United States was so handily voted in last time is, because he made the statement, like, we need to drain the swamp. We need to, like, do away with this kind of corruption, this kind of shenanigans. And, that was very endearing to many parts of America, to include some of the liberal hubs. And when I say liberal hubs, I mean areas, New York, California, the West Coast, and, some of these areas that, tended to be, more progressive, more liberal, like they too, like, endeared to the fact that they did not enjoy how, like, the central part of the government, the central nervous system is corrupt at its core. Right. There's this disease in there, and it does what it wants to do. And it's like this old, that people don't want to admit it, but the reason why, so many people that were Democratic vote Republican, is because they knew that Hillary was part of the old school establishment, and, she couldn't be trusted.
If I could jump in real quick, Toby, I've talked about this, I think, before. I talked about this with Jason Emery, actually a couple weeks ago when he and I met up for dinner, and I was talking about it just the other night. What people don't get is that in 2008, this country was already sick of D.C. and politics. Yeah. That's why they voted this young senator who'd been a community organizer, but barely a senator, Absolutely. Right? That's where the Democratic Party misses it. They voted Barack Obama not because he was a young black man who was articulate and all that crap. No. It was because they felt the country, because he used the terms hope and change. They looked at who was on the other side of the aisle, and they said, you know what? What do we got to lose? This guy's at least not been in D.C. forever. He's a community organizer. He's kind of coming from the grassroots, and they voted him in, right? And then in 2012, when he ran against McCain, right? 12, yeah. Yep. When he ran against McCain, the talking point was, now, old white guy again. McCain's been around forever. He's part of the establishment. Hope and change. Yep. He needs 4 more years because first 4 years he had to undo all the Bush stuff, right? Had to undo the Bush stuff. So he had to do all. So the country gave him another chance, right? The country being the entire voting populace, right? Left, right, or center. They said, all right, well, maybe, okay, Bush dynasty, all that stuff. Okay, he convinced everybody, please stay with me. I got a little bit of a chance, right? So then 16 comes. What the DNC and most of the country, I think, do not pay attention to is the reason why the first time ever did we go down to the last voting area for a general election or for a runoff to D.C. to pick between Bernie and Hillary. It's never happened. Usually the primaries decided within the first couple rounds of states of voting, because it's taken off from there. The reason why Bernie did so good and probably would have been the DNC candidate had the committee not interjected and interfered, he probably would have been the Democratic choice. But the reason why he did so well and why Trump did so well, President Trump, is because the country had really, after 8 years, gotten to the point, okay, we really, even though Bernie was a senator, He's from Vermont. No one knew who he was. He was very low, no name recognition, and he had all these crazy progressive ideas. And even though he was another old white guy, it was people were like, okay, well, let's get this guy. He's got some crazy out of the. He can't be part of the established DC. He's got these wacky ideas. And then they looked at President Trump. So well, that dude definitely is outside the Beltway. And and President Trump even went to the black voting community and pretty much said, hey, what do you have to lose? It literally was a statement, right? He said, you tried him, you tried President Obama for 8 years. What do you got to lose by voting for me? And he played on that card 100% to the people of that had 8 years ago had said, we're tired of DC regular politics. Give us someone new. And then they said, okay, we realize take a little bit longer. Then finally the American people said, that's it. We want someone totally outside the realm of possibility that could ever be associated and be a politician, a swamp. And like you said, he jumped on drain the swamp. That is what the DNC is forgetting. They think throwing 17 candidates up there who try to go as far left as possible to win over their people is going to be what America wants. That is not what America wants. They may bitch about the President Trump, but they also look at the numbers and the economy and the market, and someone that's willing to fire somebody at the drop of a hat if they screw up and not just let them stay within the government system. That's what America wants.
No, like the going back, you have someone standing in front, giving the news conference to America, the press conference to America, that we need to impeach, we need to do it now. And time is of the essence because we have to do it. We can't wait to do it properly. We have to do it this way because the election's coming, and if we do it with the right amount of due process and all that stuff, like people see through that because they're like, oh, this isn't about timing. You just don't have it. And then to argue on the floor, oh well, we don't have what we need, so we're going to need more time. Like, everyone sees through that stuff. It doesn't matter what party you are. The people see that's the swamp. The comment that you made, which it wasn't quite a verbatim quote, but basically to the tune of, "Why don't you all give me a shot? What do you have to lose?" People are like, "Oh well, like that's never going to work." Well, it did. And the very first thing he did, the president's first executive order, was give additional protections and funding to historically black colleges. Like the education base that spouses the most venomous rhetoric towards them, he protected.
He also has been pushing to make crimes against homosexuals and LGBT community a major crime, right? Another base block that calls him Hitler.
There's like this blind hatred, for the guy from certain groups. But the funniest thing is, like, you peel all that back, and the thing that people are banking on to get him ousted is exactly the playbook that he used to get elected. And like they're helping his cause. They're making it easier because people are, like you said, we're talking about how long drawn out. I mean, the attention span of the general public grows shorter and shorter every year.
With every information, every technology, new social media platform.
Social media is information and all that stuff comes at people faster and faster. People talk about a 24-hour news cycle. Well, it's not even 24 hours anymore. It's less than that. And, the fatigue that this kind of PR campaign, the slanderous PR campaign, is being pushed. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Trump fan. I'm just saying because that's what it is. They are using slander to try and diminish his position in the political field. It's a technique. Everybody uses it. Trump used it against Rosie O'Donnell. He's used it against, Pocahontas as an example. Using that term Pocahontas, I mean, to diminish, a political opponent, to bring him down. All they're doing is they're trying to extend this this election cycle in terms of time, and it's playing into his hand because people are going to be fatigued quicker about this process. We're going to get some hilarity out of it because like
I think we're seeing fatigue already, right? People are already saying they're sick. I
uh,
mean, we're seeing his approval numbers go through the roof. We're seeing the numbers against the impeachment to climb. I mean, people are already burned out
the dude's raising money hand over fist. He's
with,
having
without even trying, like
yeah,
small amount donations.
because they're like, oh, well, we're going to impeach him. Well, that's another reason for me to give $5.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. No.
but back one thing I do want to say though is I live in the most darling city in Texas. It's called Georgetown. It's just north of Austin, not far from the Great Place, one of the largest, at the largest military installation in the free world in terms of Fort Hood. But here in Central Texas, in Williamson County, in Georgetown, the seat of Williamson County, um, the the community gets together for a lot of things. It's the holidays. We have a Christmas stroll. We have the lighting of the lights on the square. And a lot of people are allowed to put, farmers market booths up and, they sell their wares and artisans and different things. But the other night, there was a booth out and it was a Make America Great booth, where you can buy your red MAGA hats. You could buy different Trump stuff. And it was like a full booth. And, when I looked at who was manning it, like to me, I was like, well, that speaks volumes because it wasn't a middle-aged white dude, that was doing it. It wasn't an older white guy that was doing it. It was two uh, late to middle-aged African Americans and a Latino dude. There wasn't a Caucasian to be found in that booth. And I was like, there you have it.
And was
There
it
you
doing
have it.
good business?
Oh, they were just
Was it
slinging stuff left and right.
was it like the first Chick-fil-A in a city just getting slammed?
They were just slinging. He sold out of those MAGA hats. He sold out of flags. He sold out of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But like what I found is like the message that is being broadcast, the message that is being sent, is not what I am witnessing. Now, if I was in LA, I might witness something different. But my reality, my perspective, uh, is the one thing that I'm being told is the greatest threat to America that's ever existed, to our culture that's ever existed, is just a falsehood, and I can't put any credence into it because like the the people, the people, the backbone of the country, those that lead govern the people disagree with what's being said on the news. And it doesn't matter how you cut it, how you edit it. It doesn't matter what fake speech you give. It doesn't matter what facts you put out there. The reality is, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, they say she
Either one.
Nancy Pelosi wore black on yesterday on the impeachment day. The big joke of it was she's wearing black because it's the death of the Democratic Party and their chance to win 2020. I mean, a lot of folks were yesterday and a lot of commentaries on a number of different stations and sites I was reading where they just gave the election to Donald Trump again, the re-election. Right, it's his to lose because. I mean, it's what can anyone say? And I was talking about this the other night to somebody. When you go run against somebody, your argument, your talking points is I can do better than they're doing for you, right? I can, or it's what do you have to lose? Give me a chance, right? But it's usually right. I can do better than my plan on this is better. My ideas for that are better than what you've been going through. Man, with the numbers, I mean, people care about is providing for their family, having a safe place, getting all the necessary infrastructure and things they need to survive and live and raise their family and have a productive life. When your unemployment when you have more jobs available than people out of work, when you have the economy doing it, we have the stock market busting through every ceiling, and all these low unemployment numbers, and our country's secure, and we got a strong military, and all that stuff. I really don't know one talking point that anyone can get in front of a camera and say they can do a better job than the president. A factual, tangible talking point. Not I'll be nicer, I won't be on Twitter as much, or free pizza every day at lunch and school kind of thing. But a real tangible, hey, I can do this better, and here's my idea. What I don't know what they're going to argue. I really don't know what they can say.
No, no, like the unfortunately, like in their in their fervor, in their attempt to get something out there, they've shot themselves in the foot again. And the reason I say that is because, the Green New Deal is a great example. Like here's a great idea. We're gonna do all this stuff, and it's like comes down to like cow farts, and I'm not gonna allow planes to fly, and again, I mean, I'm not making fun of her. I'm making fun of the offering in terms of what it was. And when you come forward with stuff like that, we joked about this, like you can't, like if you're in student council, you can run a campaign on no homework and pizza for everybody. And people are in the student body going to vote for you. The faculty are just going to look at you and be like,
"You're an idiot."
Yeah. So you're going to get fat and stupid because you're not going to put the effort into study, and pizza's not a viable, food group. The offerings that they've made in terms of plans recently, Obamacare, abysmal failure, and the Affordable Care Act, and I call it Obamacare because I'm deliberately trying to put it with some ownership. The Affordable Care Act was an abysmal failure. There are guys that got reelected and gals that got reelected or elected to first term based on the fact that that plan was so bad, it was so shoddy, it was pushed through, it was so sinister the way that it got passed, and it screwed people in such a way that they're like, no, like it can't be much worse than that, so we got to get rid of that. Like if you're not putting a good plan together, if you're not doing things, now people can get pissed and they can get mad and they can say horrible things and disagree, but the reality is they brought in every Hollywood star that they could to like bolster and support and put pop culture behind the Iran deal. When we actually as a people found out what the Iran deal was, it doesn't matter if it was Trump as president or not. Once we found out the truth of the Iran deal, we're like, well, that's some bullshit. Like that's dangerous.
Yeah.
We did the same thing. We put pop culture and we lifted people up and put pop stars in front of like we got to be part of the Paris Accord. We got to do all this stuff. And then we found out like, oh, we're taking financial responsibility for the world's pollution problem, even though we're only contributing to 6% of it. Like, oh, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and once
I think for the most part, any knowledgeable, their head on straight American, regardless of where they feel in politics, if politics at all, they're seeing the trend, right? And
that's the thing. Like when you put bad plan forward after bad plan after bad plan, and Trump, he's put together a couple of good things, but in reality, all he's done is like said, okay, that's a really bad plan. All my people agree, and we're just gonna change that plan. Like the plan again for North Korea, like that plan, it didn't work. You want to get a guy to the table hiding behind 12-inch plates of bulletproof glass and like not being able to sniff the air from that guy's country is not going to endear him to want to talk to you. Calling him Rocket Man, poking him in the chest and like putting your foot on his ground and then looking him in the eye when you shake his hand and giving him the double-handed. Oh, like now all of a sudden the guy's like, oh shit, I got to talk to you.
Yeah. I'm going to make a
all
prediction.
Right, so let's talk concessions.
Yeah, I want to make a prediction here, Toby. You've heard it here first. Anyone is still tuned in or listens to this afterwards. based on what I saw in 2016, what I saw was a lot of people I know that did not like President Trump because they were told not to, either whispered to me, "Hey, I'm voting for him." Right? You and I talked about this before. A lot of people came to me very privately, like, "I'm voting for him." People that you look at and go, "Really? I would never guess that," because they didn't want her so bad, or they just didn't go vote, but that way they could wash themselves of, well, if he screws up and he's bad as everyone says he is, not my fault. I didn't vote for him. But at the same time, they're going, but I can't swallow my pride and go vote for her because I know how bad she is. What's going to happen this year? The candidates are so bad on the left that either one of two things are going to happen. If they bowed out and cowered it out in 12, they're going to come back and say, well, man, actually, guess what? He did a really good job. Who cares what he says on Twitter? I got a great job and things are going well and markets, my stock 401k is doing great, and they're going to vote for him. Or they're going to sit there and they're going to be the hard left ones that can't do that, and they're going to do the same thing again and look at whatever candidate comes out on top of this motley crew. That apparently there's another debate tonight, by the way. I just found that out literally an hour before the show. I didn't even know there was a debate tonight.
No one does.
Yeah.
No one in America knew there was a debate tonight, except the person moderating it and the people talking on it.
I don't even know what channel it's on.
People being paid to be in the audience.
But they're going to look at whatever comes out on top of that and go, yeah, I can't vote for that. And, well, no one's going to yell at me if I don't vote for him. What we're going to see, I think, again, is either a mass push to the right to vote for the president in 2020, or people just wash their hands of it because it's easier that way. It's cleaner. If I don't vote for anybody, nobody can bitch at me, right? I can complain later, but hey, I can't take fault for it if it doesn't work out right. That's what is going to happen. That's how the president's going to get reelected. His hard left people are just not going to come out because they're not enthused by any of these people that are propped up in front of them. So
no, like that's one of the greatest things, and when I say greatest, one of the biggest things that came out of the last election was the rise of these like very militant political groups. Proud Boys on the right, or alt-right, if you want to call it that, the Antifa on the far left. And, their antics and their things, they're dividing their own parties and fragmenting their own parties and doing far more damage than they realize to the base. Of course, like Antifa, they're anarchists and, that's their whole thing. But now when the Dallas Stars playing Tampa Bay on Fox Sports Southwest has a better market share of the Nielsen ratings than the Democratic debate, whichever number this is, that should be an indicator that y'all are going the wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well,
but hey,
it's 2019 has been something. We got a couple weeks left. I'm totally not ready for Christmas. I don't know if you are, but I'm not. I don't even have all my lights out, which, me, I'm quite the lights guy, but they're going what I have out. Some more are going up this weekend when it warms up to the 40s, and I'll be sending you some video. But anyways, if you're flying over Buffalo, you may see my house. I'll just put it that way. But no, enjoy, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. 2019 has been a hell of a year, as we talked about. There's lots of highs and lots of lows. It was we couldn't imagine this time last year what 2019 was going to bring us. Obviously, we have no idea what's in only the man upstairs, the Lord himself, knows what's in our path in front of us. Hopefully it's a good year for me and you and our families and loved ones and all those tuned in, listening, watching. But and I hope, Toby, you're able to spend a relaxing and restful Christmas with your family and focus on what's most important. And I wish you the best, my friend, over these next couple of weeks until we get to see each other in 2020.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for that. And like you said, the only person that knows what's going to happen in the future is the good Lord. And I encourage you to take solace in the fact that He only puts on you what you can handle. And if you can't handle it, you die, and then you're with Him. So it's all good. And so, like, have a great 2020. Have a great year. Have a great holiday. Merry Christmas. Take your family to church. And you know what? If that's the only day of the year y'all go to church, share with your kids that, there's more to Christmas than just some, bearded fat dude that, miraculously teleports himself up and down, like fire, ventilation systems.
It's called Christmas. Take that first word. It's not called Sanimus, right? And,
yeah. Let them know, like, the reason we have this huge international holiday, regardless of faith, is because undeniably Christ was on this planet and Christ served the humankind, and everyone agrees. It doesn't matter, if you're Jewish or if you're, you follow Islam.
They all believe in Jesus, every one of them.
Everyone agrees that Jesus walked this earth, and like if that's the one day a year that you go to church, take your kids, go there yourself. Hug your family member, and if you're not a Christian, cool.
Go and hear the Christmas story, because that's what you're going to hear if you go to any Christian-based church. Is going to be the Christmas story.
Go hear the Christmas story and understand, like, the most important thing that he left with mankind was love one another. And regardless of your faith, like, if we just start there, we're just loving one another and not being adversarial and not looking for a reason to be outraged. If we just like look for a reason to support and promote each other, and we are in a far greater place. This is America where we can do that. This is America that was founded on the purpose of being free from persecution and being free to believe and love what you can. And that's why I'm here. That's why I left another great country. People always make fun. They're like, oh, well, you're not really an immigrant because you're from Canada. Hey, Canada doesn't have what America has. If Canada did, I'd still be in Canada, but it doesn't. I joined the winning team, and I'm here, and I'm continuing to be part of this team, and I'm on the free agency. I'm a blue chip player.
So, at least until you get picked up and signed in after you pass that exam.
I'm unrestricted right now. I can't own firearms. I just can't vote. But I love you. I love you all. Merry Christmas. God bless you. May you have a great new year. And I look forward to us being together in 2020.
That's it. Merry Christmas, everyone. You too, Toby. Everybody have a good night. And we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.